This is the Petrushka chord, a highly complex and dissonant chordal object centered as the motivic device in Igor Stravinsky's ballet of the same name.
This is the story of Petrushka the puppet, how he loved the beautiful ballerina and lost her to his rival, the Moor, and how he finally gained his freedom from the grasp of the rascally puppet master.
Petrushka premiered in 1911 to mixed but eventually favorable reviews. Diving deeper than ever before into the dissonance, Stravinsky would return to the stage just 2 years later with his seminal work, Rite of Spring, which was welcomed to, mostly explosive reviews. Like, for real, there was an actual reported riot the day of the premiere. Entire crowds were supposedly arrested over the incident. People challenged each other to duels over this man's harmony. The dissonance embedded in Petrushka and the Rite of Spring would arguably change the course of 20th century harmony forever. But what was it about this harmony that was so polarizing in the first place?
I like very much this corner.
Let's talk bitonality. Bitonality is a type of polytonality in where two different keys are used in the same piece at the same time. In the case of the Petrushka chord, we essentially have a C major triad which is played over an F sharp major triad. Two different keys at once. If we generalize this, the Petrushka chord can be defined as two simultaneous major triads separated by a tritone. But of course, this is just one of many ways to bitonate. Bitonate? Whatever. Some 10 years before Stravinsky even conceived of this chord, American composer Charles Ives, working with choirs in New Haven, Connecticut, set Psalm 67 to music in a beautiful polytonal fashion. Basses and tenors sung in G minor, while altos and sopranos outlined parts in C major. The result? A beautiful, complex choral color. Polytonality, while relatively new in the Western contemporary tradition, has deep roots in Lithuanian culture with Sutartinės. A female-led polytonal folk tradition that predates the Christianization of Lithuania. This kind of polytonality is crunchy and deeply meditative. And by the way, I am in the middle of making a dedicated video on the theory behind Sutartinės in Lithuanian culture. So if anyone out there happens to have done any scholarship in this field or have any experience participating in the tradition themselves, please reach out. I have questions. It dawns on me that there's a lot of utility for this concept in general. Mozart proved its utility for comic effect in his piece A Musical Joke, where the finale sees the horn and string section devolve into a multi-key mayhem, apparently parodying the work of more incompetent composers. Ives proved its utility by bringing bitonality into the church chancel, where blooming harmonic textures could freely fill the air, stretching from nave to transept. And Lithuanian folk singers? Well, they've been proving it long before the idea of 20th century harmony even existed. Which brings me to today's topic, polymicrotonality. Can we find real utility in mixing the notes in between the notes with the other notes in between the notes? And can we do it in a way that's not just theoretical, but musical? First, Let's define our term. Polymicrotonality is the use of two or more different tuning systems at the same time. For example, take this diatonic sketch I improvised in 12th tet. Now let's layer in some harmonies from 31 EDO. This is polymicrotonality. Now, we're not actually using all 31 notes here, just like we're not using all the chromatic notes of 12th tet. So what we have here might be better described as a polysystemic merger between a 12-based diatonic scale and a 31-based hexatonic Mothra subset. And wow, I know that's a mouthful, but I promise it's not actually that complicated. Mothra 6, or Hexatonic Mothra, is a 6-note scale that you can construct in 31 that's based off of the super major second interval. In this context, you can think of the super major second as basically a sharper version of your major second interval. If we wanted to build this scale, we simply stack super major seconds until we reach the octave, and voila, Hexatonic Mothra. Ziana Arose has a great video that goes more in depth into the particulars of this scale, so I'll link that down in the description if you're interested. Now, take a look at these notes, A and E. See how they align with each other in both subsets. These are what we might call anchor points, fixed musical landmarks that connect two otherwise different tuning systems. Moving from one system to another via a shared anchor point can be called a transfer. Throughout the history of polytonal composition, anchor points between different key centers have played a crucial role in creating coherence between multiple tonalities. Take planing, for instance. This is a structural polytonal method that was popular with past impressionist composers. Planing involves shifting a consistent chord quality, such as all major or all minor, across a single diatonic scale in parallel motion. To ground this concept in actual sounds, let's take a look at our C major scale. Now, let's abandon all functional theory here and just build only major chords from each scale degree and then cycle through them. Any sense of traditional harmonic function is kind of just thrown out the window. But the melodic motion of the shared diatonic scale provides the anchor points which convey a sense of continuity even as the harmonic landscape flows into the chromatic and conventionally unknown. What would happen if we applied this planing method to microtonality? Instead of building static chord qualities from each diatonic note, let's let each note function as a branch into a different tuning system. If we wanted to, we could still take a kind of chordal approach by constructing the nearest approximate chord that each tuning system offers for a given root. For example, going back to our 12 EDO major scale, we might build our one chord using 22 EDO, our two chord with 15 EDO, our three chord from 9 EDO, and so on and so forth. I call this concept microplaning. And it's really not that hard to see how this method could offer a compelling way to navigate a seemingly fluid tonal space while still being connected to a foundational structure. Follow one branch and you may discover the colorful, bright leaves of 31. Down another and you may find yourself faced with the eerie, disconcerting flowers of 13 EDO. All of these branches, all of this harmony yet to be explored, all trace back to the bark of a single tree, and the roots go deep. But they aren't always easy to find. There's a lot of educational resources and content out there that you may be blocked from viewing because of your location. That's where today's sponsor, Surfshark, comes in. Surfshark VPN is an app and browser extension that allows you to change your IP address and virtually place yourself anywhere in the world to unblock websites and content that you couldn't access otherwise. But Levi, I hear you say,
I live in a secret library that holds the continuum of all human knowledge, art, and music theory YouTube videos, both past and present, atop the tallest mountain in the farthest corner of the world, known only to me and me alone.
I simply have no need to access Netflix from Moldova.
Oops, I revealed your secret. But good news. Surfshark is also an excellent resource for maintaining your personal privacy and keeping your information safe. Searching with an added layer of protection is never a bad idea and can come in handy with risky searches like, how do I tell my band I want to use microtones in the next song? Surfshark comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and for a limited time you can use my link at surfshark.com/Levi McLean for 4 extra months of Surfshark. Thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the microtones. Here's an interesting mathematical tidbit about polymicrotonality. Say you're building a polymicrotonal system with 2 tunings over each other. As long as those 2 tunings are of the EDO variety and share at least one note in common, they can be thought of and generated as a subset of a larger EDO equal to the least common multiple between the 2 tunings. For example, a common polymicrotonal approach is to marry equal pelagic and cylindric systems together. It's kind of like the best that equal gamelan Western approximations have to offer, slammed into one spicy Zen harmonic sandwich. To say that again in English, let's say that we're composing with 2 systems, 5-tet and 7-tet. So 5 equal divisions of the octave and 7 equal divisions of the octave. If the 2 systems have a shared note, say the root note, you can take the least common multiple between 5 and 7, which happens to be 35, and use that tuning system to create a subset that features both 5 and 7 at the same time. There maybe isn't much musicality to be drawn from this fact, as much as it being a technical point of interest. If you find yourself scripting polysystemic tuning files, this would probably be useful information to know for practical implementation of said files into your virtual instruments in your DAW. The idea of microplaning as a concept is fascinating, to say the least. It's clear to me that this branch approach might be really useful in the right context, and I'm so excited to explore that. But for me, right now, it feels just a little bit overly theoretical, and we haven't heard actual music in a minute, so I want to try something fun. I'm going to randomly choose 3 different tuning systems, 3 different tuning files, stack them on top of each other, and then just see what happens. Let's make some sounds. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of a mindfuck. What you heard was an Iranian diatonic subset of 125 EDO I found from Daruish Anushfar, over a bass part in 12-tet, over a non-atonic Orwell subset in 31 EDO. And it ends up kind of feeling like this drunk fever dream, but like in the best way possible. Now, it's really easy to get dissonant with polymicrotonality. Like 99% of the time, that's kind of the whole point. But I wonder if there's a way that we can use all of these techniques and concepts we've explored today to craft something that finds the balance between harmonically interesting, densely dissonant, and pleasing to experience. I don't know. Let's try it out. You tell me.
Say the word and I'll walk away from you.
Jordy and I would like to say thank you to all of our patrons now currently on screen. If you enjoy the sound of these block bells, I turned them into a sampler instrument for my community over on Patreon. The sample pack consists of 4 different articulations for each note and each octave note, so you can get the full range of dynamic expression for this super interesting and unique instrument. When you join our Microtonalist tier, you'll get access to the Microtonalist Manual, an ever-growing resource containing all you'll ever need to know about making music in 31 EDO. This includes tuning files, lecture notes, academic papers, chord cheat sheets, and a bunch of exclusive videos like my hour-long introduction into 31 EDO for the modern musician, the many sevenths of 31, micro drift modulation techniques, and much, much more. Come study with us. I make myself available to all of my patrons to answer questions, geek out on music theory stuff, and foster a community of thriving microtonal music theory nerds. We await you with open arms, and of course, a whole lot of notes.